Hey guys, I'm Zelda Master, and in this video I want to talk about my top 5 favorite things in Breath of the Wild. Cause come on guys, Breath of the Wild is such a perfect game, and there's so many awesome things to it. From the game— Hold up! Now wait a second. I've heard enough praises about Breath of the Wild, and while the game is good, it has too many flaws that shouldn't go unnoticed. So that's it, I'm taking over this video. Here are the top 5 reasons why Breath of the Wild sucks! Number 5. Don't get me started about the f***ing rain in this game. Is Hyrule secretly located somewhere near Masinram, India? Like, why the fuck does it rain all the time? Especially when it ruins a crucial mechanic with the game. Being able to climb anything in the overworld is such a fun and interesting concept Breath of the Wild does so well. Nothing stands in your way if you have the stamina for it. Unless it starts to rain. You'll be minding your own business, looking for a shrine, using Link's Spider-Man powers to climb up a mountain, when all of a sudden, it starts to rain. And holy f*** does it piss me off. Because there's no way around it. Once it starts raining, you either have to manage to finish climbing through the wet rain, causing Link to constantly slip and slide up the mountain, or accept defeat for the time being and head back to the bottom to start from the beginning. And even if you try to set up camp and skip later in the day to avoid the rain, it becomes nearly impossible to do so while in the rain, as making a campfire while rain pours everywhere isn't something easy. You'll need to look for shelter, which is usually hard to find unless you're by a bunch of trees, which really slows down the process even more. I don't understand why Nintendo didn't add a more convenient way to pass time, as most of the time I need to use the campfire, it's because of the damn rain. Way back in Ocarina of Time, you were able to skip the time of day by playing a song that took no more than 10 seconds. Hell, you were even able to summon rain by playing a song that took no more than 10 seconds. Would it be that far-fetched for Nintendo to come up with a similar solution for Breath of the Wild? And if the rain wasn't enough, and it happens to thunderstorm, Link is always at the risk of getting struck down by lightning if having any metal equipped. This just adding to the frustration of rain, making it the most annoying thing to deal with when it's just fucking weather. This is Breath of the Wild. How is the most annoying thing to deal with within the game caused by nature? Number 4. Hey guys, check out this awesome and interesting weapon I just found! Oh wait. Something I don't understand with Breath of the Wild is why Nintendo put so much effort giving Link such a wide range of new and unique weapons when they all end up breaking. It is such an unsatisfying game mechanic that makes almost every weapon outside the Master Sword and Hylian Shield feel meaningless. It takes away from the charm that the Zelda series had with finding a rare and secret weapon. And Breath of the Wild, any weapon you find, you already know it has a very, very short expiration date. I understand that the game was built around finding and breaking new weapons off of enemies as you go along, but not every weapon you find you'll end up enjoy using. This game mechanic pretty much forces the player to not use a weapon that they really like to avoid the risk of breaking it. It seriously baffles me that Nintendo thought this was the best way to broaden Link's arsenal from his standard set of iconic weapons. This is the first Zelda game to let the player choose what type of weapon and style they want to play as Link, just to be constantly forced to swap between weapons as each weapon takes little to nothing to break out an enemy, making your Master Sword your safest option, pretty much forcing the player to only play with that one playstyle. I mean, why couldn't Nintendo at least give the player the option that when the weapon is badly damaged and the game warns you about it, if you stop using it and head to a blacksmith or a shop, the game allows you to repair it. That way, punishing the player if they went all the way to break the weapon without stopping, but also giving the player the option to maintain said weapon if they really don't want to break it. This would still keep the game balanced in the sense of always looking for new weapons. Because if all of your favorite weapons are about to break, you'll be forced to stop using them and wait until you reach a town to repair them and use them again. Somewhat similar to how you are able to reforge the champion's weapons with diamonds and other materials. Overall, rewarding the player for trying to conserve their weapon, instead of forcing it to break eventually. Number 3. You know what would be a great idea for the biggest Zelda game to date? Why not fill the game's massive world with tons of little Korak poop for the player to collect, to be rewarded at the very end with an even bigger piece of poop? Such a rewarding and practical thing to look forward in a game, right? No! What was Nintendo thinking? How could they be so cruel to their most dedicated players? They added 900 f***ing pieces of shit scattered throughout Hyrule just to be rewarded with another piece of shit at the very end? This is nothing more but a horrible joke for the people who look forward to 100%ing the game. There is literally no reason to go out of your way to collect all of them outside of bragging rights. It also makes no sense how they manage the Korok seeds in this game. So for half of the seeds you collect throughout Hyrule, you'll be able to upgrade your inventory space and add more slots for weapon, shields, and bows. But once you manage to increase your inventory slots to the max, the remaining Korok seeds become completely useless, which amounts to, again, almost half of them. Why? What is the reason for making well over 400 Korok seeds meaningless? You just end up storing them in your inventory, not having any use for them as they pile up until you found them all to get another useless piece of shit from Hetsu himself. And there's literally no use for them outside of them remaining in your inventory. Couldn't have there been a way to use the rest of them as currency for other rare items? Maybe amiibo outfits, since Nintendo for some damn reason usually only produces 12 of a specific amiibo worldwide and expects everyone to somehow get their hands on them. Why not have an in-game way to be rewarded with such awesome outfits instead of locking them behind a paywall that isn't even easy to find? You usually have to spend over the retail price for an amiibo because of how rare they are, which is extremely lame since there's no other option to get those outfits in the game. But alright, if Nintendo's too greedy to do that, why not be able to purchase anything with the remaining Korok seeds? I thought they would have found a solution by the DLC, but nope! It's as if the game designers forgot halfway what to do with all of these Korok seeds. Such a wasted opportunity that makes fun of the players who wasted all their time looking for all 900 Korok seeds. Thanks, Nintendo. Number 2. From the moment you start the game, you hear Princess Zelda's voice. She tells Link to wake up, and that she can barely hold off Ganon any longer. After 100 long years, Link must awaken from his slumber of resurrection and seek out the princess in Hyrule Castle. And while Link can head straight to Hyrule Castle right after leaving the Great Plateau, it is advised for Link to first recover his lost memories from the battle that took place 100 years ago. And with Link having to recover his memories, it serves as a way for both Link and the player to learn about his past, which is really clever. But what I hate about this concept is it doesn't leave much else in terms of story. While many may see this as a step in the right direction, letting the player choose their path and have the option on whether they want to uncover the rest of Link's memories before the final boss, this really takes away from the series' great storytelling and leaves everything as a jumbled mess. To start off, once you recover all of Link's missing memory and restore the Divine Beasts back to Hyrule, there isn't any more story. The game focuses more on having you explore the world rather than follow a story that is set out for you. And while this may be fun in an open world game such as this, I expected a bit more in terms of plot to work with. With the memories being the main form of story, it doesn't really leave the player wanting to reach the game's end any faster. Pretty much all the characters outside of Link and Zelda in those memories are dead, leaving you with no motivation to want to do anything about it, because it's too late now. The game loses its story direction and seems like a giant sandbox trying to locate all the shrines and collectibles found throughout it, removing that sense of progression in other Zelda games within the series, as you set out on many smaller adventures that led you to the final one. In Breath of the Wild, you have one main mission, and it is to destroy Ganon. While there are other quests to do that will help you on your main quest, you don't have to do any of them and can just attempt the final quest straight off the bat. This makes the story somewhat forgettable and less impactful, as anything in the game can be done at any point, which results in every major story arc feeling similar to the previous, as they made it in which you can take on any divine beast at any given order, removing the game's difficulty increasing by each new area, and having each dungeon feel like a repeat of the last in order to keep the same level of importance. It just altogether removes any build-up to the final boss, and makes main quests like each divine beast seem more like side quests. But outside the game's storytelling, another issue is the overall setting. You don't feel like this is Hyrule in a post-apocalyptic state, a century after Link's nearly fatal battle. Hyrule between 100 years ago and the present look no different, and this becomes apparent when watching one of Link's memories from 100 years ago, as everything looks exactly the same. Even when looking at how things would have changed in nature over time, from the grass and the trees, everything is completely unchanged. You'd think Nintendo would have realized that. This may seem like nitpicking, but that really breaks away from the immersion that Hyrule is under a threat that could be unleashed at any given second. Outside of Hyrule Castle and the many ruins surrounding it, the rest of Hyrule doesn't seem to be in a post-apocalyptic state whatsoever. We are in a world where Hyrule's princess has been waiting over a century for its hero, and yet, Hyrule looks better than ever. Zelda can wait a bit more longer, right? I mean, I got a couple more Korok poop to pick up. Number 1. There is almost nothing good to say about Breath of the Wild's bosses. When it comes to the most uninteresting, uncreative, and uninspired boss designs, the Blight Ganons take the cake for that. Like, what the actual
Buddy.
Are you trying to tell me that Daruk stood no chance against Fire Blight Ganon? The dude is literally King Dodongo from Ocarina of Time. Actually, now that I think about it, Daruk is afraid of dogs, so it doesn't surprise me. But what about Urbosa or Revali? They were renowned warriors of their race. These bosses cannot convince me that Hyrule's chosen heroes were killed by such abominations. I feel like I'm facing a random Bloodborne enemy with all the screeching and overall lack of characters these bosses have. I really expected more than 4 versions of the exact same f***ing concept with different elements. Oh cool, Water Blight uses water and Wind Blight uses wind? Is that the only difference? If anything, this should have been just one boss with 4 different phases switching between them. Oh wait, is that what the final boss is supposed to be? Another rehash of the same garbage concept? Is this a f***ing joke? And before someone mentions Dark Beast Ganon, that is more of a damn joke. It doesn't do shit. It just lets you attack it while it walks at the pace of a snail. Nothing will happen to Hyrule if you leave him. You aren't under any time constraints or anything. It's just meant to seem epic. So why the f*** is Hyrule's biggest threat a brain-dead pile of hot garbage? What happened to the Demon King Ganon? Is this what's left of him? A generic-looking monster? Such a shame that this is what Nintendo went for. Breath of the Wild's Ganon is the saddest excuse for a final boss and brings shame to the Ganon we knew from previous titles. Each version of this boss, down to the last, is extremely easy and lacks complete character. Not even the final encounter with him in Hyrule Castle will he have anything to say or do outside of screeching. It is so anticlimactic the way you walk into the Sanctum for the final battle. For the final boss, you would expect more. Now, I hate to interrupt, even though you pretty much interrupted my video for this video. But don't you think that Ganon is this way because this is him after so many years of repeating the same thing again and again, that while Ganon is cursed to plague Hyrule, that his overall conscience may have dwindled? And what's left of him is the darkness he possesses to attempt to destroy Hyrule every chance he gets, giving him no purpose or reason to speak with, as there's nothing left of what he once was when he was known as the Demon King, and the curse is all that's left of him. That's a fair point. While that isn't confirmed or anything, I can see where you're coming from there. But what about another enemy Nintendo could have added within the game to make up for Ganon's lack of character? Maybe another villain that tries to stop Link throughout his journey to Ganon. It's not like Nintendo hasn't done that before. You know, with Skyward Sword's Girahim or Zant from Twilight Princess. They both sure did add a lot outside of the final boss battle. Oh wait. Breath of the Wild does have something like that. Master Koga, the leader of the Yiga clan, which is known to rival the Sheikah. In concept, they are such an amazing addition to the game, but not so much for their master. Master Koga is an excuse for a boss battle. Not only is he also nothing more but a joke, but the dude literally kills himself on accident. I understand trying to add humor to the game, but couldn't have Nintendo done that joke to any other Yiga that isn't their f***ing master? How the f*** am I supposed to take the Yiga seriously when their boss is the clumsiest person in Hyrule? Again, such a wasted opportunity to add a new tribe that could hold so much lore and interest, but instead have them more of a comedic relief with little to any lore explored upon. It would have been nice to have some sort of henchman similar to Girahim or Zant that made up for Ganon's lack of character, that tested the player throughout the game. Building the enemy's character, making them feel more real. Sadly, instead we get someone far less interesting with a bunch of unanswered questions. I would love to see Nintendo expand on the Yiga in future titles, but in Breath of the Wild, they seem like banana-hungry monkeys that serve no threat to Hyrule. And while the overworld bosses and DLC bosses are pretty fun, the game's overall set of bosses are utter garbage compared to what you'd expect from the series. Well, that about covers my major issues with the game. Anyways, I'm out. Well, I guess that does it for this